It's hard to think of a show that has gotten more hate than Amazon's The Lord of the Rings of Power. And it's pretty easy to see why. The writing seems lazy, the acting isn't great, the action is poorly choreographed and shot, the story is bland and boring, and the characters just aren't really likable and make horrible decisions. But after finally finishing the show, I have to say that I wish I saved the title from my last review for this one. Because after the finale, that's all I felt was disappointed. Like I said in my last video, I was super excited for this series when it was announced. The Second Age has always fascinated me. The rise of Sauron was something I've always really wanted to see. And after watching the Peter Jackson films as a kid, I always wondered about the origins of the Rings of Power, how they were created, who forged them, what went into forging them. So to hear that Amazon was making a Lord of the Rings show set during the Second Age with the biggest budget in TV history, I was obviously pretty excited. But after watching it, the show's just bad, which sucks because after the finale, I saw glimpses of what the show could and should have been. And I say glimpse here with like quotation marks because they were very small glimpses. The finale was the first decent episode. I felt like stuff actually happened. Story actually moved forward. Questions got answered and the visuals looked the best here. I think Amazon put most of the budget into this episode and it's easy to see why. I thought the Wraith effect and all that was really cool. Now the finale in no way, shape, or form is really good. I'm mostly praising it because it's better than the other episodes, not so much that it's so good. The twist of Halbrand being Sauron was done somewhat well. I think the actor does a great job in the role. I think they could have written it better. Like, I don't know why he revealed himself so soon. She found the lineage of kings. It's like, there hasn't been a king in 1,000 years. And he goes, well, you guessed it, I'm Sauron. Like, it's like, you could have faked or you could have tried to make her think something different. The visuals of like him going into her mind was cool. The dialogue was bad, but I loved like seeing him actually be angry and like evil. I don't like good Sauron at all. We'll get into that more later. I loved finally getting to see the Rings of Power, and we'll get into more of those later as well. And then getting an answer to who the stranger is, and he is a wizard. Wow, mind blown. But this episode isn't great. Everything with Numenor in the finale I thought could have been saved till next season. I didn't think they had to update us once they left Middle-earth. I think that could have been saved for next season. I think it was unnecessary screen time. It didn't really contribute to what was going on with the rings at that point. It was really just a season 2 tease, and to be honest, nothing with Numenor within the first season made me excited for seeing more in season 2. If Galadriel's gone from Numenor, then maybe, but I thought that was weird. They sidelined the dwarves again, which always sucks. I actually like the dwarves. I don't like the whole Mithril storyline, and we'll get into more of that later. But I still like seeing them. They have character. They have a little bit of charisma, and I like the dwarves. One of my biggest pet peeves with the finale was the stranger as Sauron misdirect that they tried to pull within the first 5 minutes or whatever. It was so weird. Because the whole show, you know he's not Sauron. The dude is not Sauron. The only indication we had that he could be Sauron or evil was in the first episode when the fire that he came down with wasn't hot. That was it. That was all that people could use to speculate that he was Sauron. And yet they tried to pull it with these witches, which again, I don't really know why they decided to put them in, but whatever. It was just a weird thing they decided to do, and it wasn't fleshed out as much, so like you never thought for a second that the stranger was Sauron. And then you go to the next scene, and it's Halbrand being the most suspicious he's been this whole show, and you're like, no, the stranger is not Sauron. And it's like, why is there screen time being wasted trying to trick us? I don't know. It was done really poorly. I liked the whole moment that the stranger had against the witches, but everything other than that was stupid with that. And in the finale, we never get any information about a sealed door, which I think is so funny that they are really trying to trick the audience into thinking that he is dead. No one watching this thinks he's dead except those who have never watched Lord of the Rings or don't search him up on the internet. We all know he cuts the ring off Sauron's finger way far in the future. So I don't know why they're sticking so much to this. Like, it's fine to do a little, oh no, where is Isildur thing? Or maybe do this for one episode. But the fact that they're like drawing it out is so weird to me. I mean, this show is a mess. One of the main problems with Rings of Power is that nothing happens for majority of the 8 episodes. More than half of the season could have been cut out and the story would have been the same. Events would have unfolded the same way. I'm pretty sure you could probably take 85% of the Harfoot scenes out and the show wouldn't be any different. It'd be less slow and the episodes would be a little bit shorter, which I think is what the show needs. I love the idea of hour-long episodes, but when nothing happens in them, you're left wondering, what did I watch? It's so weird. They're all like an hour long and nothing happens till like the 50-minute mark. And they just bombard you with all this information to try to keep you coming back. And it's like, what? I almost wish the stranger reveal in the finale happened during the 2nd or 3rd episode. And then the rest of the time was him and Nori trying to find Rune. I think that would have been so much more interesting. I don't know why we stuck with the Harfoots for so long. I don't know why the showrunners decided to like introduce us to all these Walmart hobbits. I don't know. I feel like Nori and the stranger are the only 2 characters that are going to have impact later in the story. So I don't know why we had to stay with the Harfoots so long and not them. But that's just something I thought. In this show, the story is so bad. I don't know how you look at Tolkien's work and go, yeah, this makes sense. This expands the mythos. This makes the books richer. The whole storyline with the elves dying if they don't get Mithril is so dumb. I don't know why we needed a backstory for Mithril. It's a rock. Like, I'm fine with them setting up the Balrog. There's no reason to give it a backstory and then like use it as a MacGuffin to save the elves. It seems like a really lazy way to show why the rings had to be made, which wasn't the reason they were made in the books. So I don't know why they chose to go this route. It seems like a dumb way to do this. I don't know why they chose to do Adar as a villain type thing. I don't know why they threw him into the show. His plans make no sense. Volcanoes don't work like that. You don't just add water and then boom. It's not a Coke and Mentos situation, okay? Also, the whole volcano thing in episode 6 was probably one of the stupidest decisions in TV history. The fact that every single main character survived a volcano eruption is absurd. That makes no sense. I don't care what fantasy world you're in. The fact that no magic spell was over them, no nothing. They just survived. It's like, it's just so weird. I don't know why Mordor needed a backstory. It didn't. The other thing is, and I think the volcano thing proves it, the show has no stakes. Like, we all know how the main characters are going to end up in the Third Age. We all know they're going to live. You're never on the edge of your seat going, is so-and-so going to die? Like, we all know they're going to live. Like Isildur, we know he's alive. There's only 2 deaths in the finale, and in the last trailer for the finale, they marketed that heroes were going to fall, and only the King of Numenor and Sadoc died. It's like 2 old guys that we don't really care about. We knew the King of Numenor was going to die. Sadoc's death was strange. I don't know if they know how to write a death scene. He gets stabbed and you're like, oh no, he's going to die. And then he goes the whole rest of the time moving and talking perfectly fine. And then finally the stranger Nazgul's the witches, and then he's like, oh no, I guess I'll die. You know? And the fact that the sunset just came up conveniently when he was about to pass away, I never thought during this show that I'd be rooting for the antagonist, but here I am. Sauron is the best character in the show. I liked Halbrand. I think the twist that he was Sauron was really obvious. And I think the lead up to that twist was done so poorly. But you can do it well. You can still write it well with it being obvious. I think they should have I think they should have went more closely to what happened in the Silmarillion, and I know why they can't do exactly, but even changing him to a man should have solved that problem. For one, I think that Halbrand should have been more involved with the elves during the course of the season. He should have been building trust with Celebrimbor and Gil-galad or some of these other high elves. He should be slowly infiltrating the elvish cities and council and all this stuff. He should be helping and pushing Celebrimbor, not teaching Celebrimbor. I think there's a couple things in the books that he taught him, but not how to make an alloy. He should be dividing the elves between what they think of him, with like Celebrimbor on the side of trusting him and Galadriel and Elrond being like, I don't know, this guy seems really strange. Maybe we shouldn't trust him. Like, that should be the central tension, I think, within the show. I think this would have led to the reveal that Halbrand's Sauron to be more impactful, not maybe so much to the audience, but to the characters. Like, Celebrimbor feeling betrayed. But I don't like that he just shows up in the finale with a wound that he definitely shouldn't have survived from and just walks in and is like, I think you should combine metals together and that will fix your problem. It's so lazy. Like, they're trying to get to the reveal as fast as they can with the finale. Also, the whole thing with Halbrand-Galadriel relationship is so forced. Oh my gosh. Like, Galadriel has a husband who's alive at this time in the books. And if they killed him off, is this even the same? Is this the same timeline as the Peter Jackson films? Because he shows up in the Peter Jackson film. So, like, is this another misdirect that they're doing? Because it's stupid. And it's a weird way to, like, make Sauron evil. I'm not a fan at all of good Sauron, especially at this point in the Second Age. It's way too late for him to be teetering the line between good and evil. He's evil at this point. But I liked in the one scene with the raft, we actually kind of feel like he is evil. He gets angry. I like that. I wish we saw more of that within the show. I think this all goes back to the core of what the series should have been. It should have been a show about the rings. Which is funny because you would think a show that is called The Rings of Power would be about the Rings of Power. But they're like only covered for 15 minutes. The show for me was at its best when the rings were the focus, were the driving force. The central storyline should have been about the creation of the rings, and then all other subplots should have pointed and led to that. Because that's what interests me about this show. That's why I tuned in. Not so much that it was just called Lord of the Rings, but that the rings, the creation of the rings, were what I believe to be the focus. My favorite part of the finale was all the stuff with the rings. Now, I didn't like Celebrimbor not knowing crap about how to create stuff with Mithril. Like, he knows what an alloy is. He doesn't need his handheld. I wish they focused more on the magic than the metal part of the rings, but I can get past that. They should have focused on the rings. And it's fine if you don't want to, but don't title the series it. Go title it something else. With a stronger finish, and I say strong loosely, I am the teeniest tiny bit hopeful for season 2. I hope the showrunners can learn what went wrong and what very few went right. I hope they go back to Tolkien. I hope they go back to the Peter Jackson films and look at it and study it and make season 2 more like it. I am hopeful because if they are teachable, if they're able to learn from their mistakes, then they have 4 more seasons to get this thing right. I hope they do it in season 2. But man, this is a hard way to start a show. It's going to be hard to get people back because it doesn't make any sense. And the audience that you should be trying to appease, you've just made so angry. Like, I don't know who this show is for because it's not for Tolkien fans. It's probably not for newcomers. So, like, who is this show for? I think they need to decide that, and I think they need to go back to Tolkien's books. And then I'm hopeful for season 2. I hope they stay more faithful to Tolkien and that they can redeem Galadriel, but I'm not too optimistic. Season 1 was bad. This was a disaster. But that's it for me. Let me know down in the comment section below what y'all thought of Rings of Power. Did you even watch it? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I love you guys. Have an absolutely amazing day. And until next time, peace out, bro skillets.